And here we go. Countdown has started for game one of Wednesday Night StarCraft. vVv against Convergence Gaming. Murder against Bio with TVZ starting out on Calm Before the Storm.
Yeah, so Terran versus Zerg, combos for the Storm. Do you know if it's forced crossbond or on this map, or is it anything can be played?
I do not know. I think that anything can be played. As we see the map more and more, it'll definitely pan out. We'll be able to see whether it's forced or not after a number of tries. I'll check out the internet here and see what it says while you're doing the intros.
All right, we'll do that. And I definitely thank Bio for choosing yellow as a Zerg player, even though Murder did choose purple. So it is going to be a little bit difficult as the game gets underway. Murder is spawning as the purple Terran on the top left-hand side of the map. Meanwhile, Bio spawning as the yellow Zerg on the bottom right-hand side of the map. And the game is now underway. We'll see what the strategies will be and how Murder will open up. I am expecting a little bit of harassment, but nothing too much as the metagames really switched from Terran players doing heavy harassment with Blue Flame Hellions into just a really more macro style game, perhaps attacks around the 15 to 17 minute mark. And I haven't seen any games in Terran versus Zerg really end before that.
Yeah, I think Terrans are trying to get on that third base a little bit faster, and when they do that, it delays their stim sometimes. It delays their medevacs or it delays their tank. So if you're a Zerg player, as long as you're scouting, you can kind of figure out where your opponent is weak. Maybe he doesn't have any tanks, and you can do an all-in with banelings or roaches. And I think that we're going to start seeing more and more Zergs off those fast three bases, trying to really abuse macroing Terrans when they do try to go for a quick third themselves.
All right, we'll see what's going to happen as Bio is now moving out. He will be scouting, and I'm not quite sure which way that drone is traveling. I don't know the pathing. It looks like one Overlord is making its way over to the top right. This drone may be making its way to the bottom left. And interesting thing from Murder, Murder has not built a barracks. It looks like he will be going for a fast command center, and he's going for his own private command center that's inside his base. He will be able to expand there very easily. Meanwhile, Bio is taking his natural, and he
Yeah.
should be able to set up a spine crawler there and perhaps try to limit the amount of damage as we finally see the drone take a quick look around and hasn't found his opponent just quite yet.
Yeah, and this command center first is a strategy that we saw all the time on Crevasse in, again, that very safe expansion. You're not going to get picked off or harassed while you're building it, and then you can just wall off with a barracks right afterwards. And like I said before the game, any Zerg player is really going to want to take that quote-unquote unsafe natural first, just so we can get creep and spine crawlers down, and then take the safer one for the third.
All right, we're going to see Murder setting up that second supply depot there. The drone trying to make its way in, unable to do so. Going to get a little bit of damage onto the supply depot, but unable to reach the SCV. As Murder, I believe, did establish his command center just slight. No, actually, command center is a little bit delayed compared to the hatchery. But with the help of some orbital commands, that should be very nice for Murder, as he will get a nice economic boost, and there will not be any queens for Bio until the hatcheries are done.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see from Murder whether he again goes for that quick third command center sometime in the next maybe 3 or 4 minutes, or whether he adds a second gas and starts teching up, whether he gets stim or maybe starts +1, goes for medevacs very quickly. I think that's definitely going to be sort of the story of the game, what he's going to do next, just because of the way the map works out. Looks like he will be going for that factory now, but again, the timing on that third, I think, will definitely make things interesting.
Yeah, interesting from Bio. Bio does establish his own third hatchery well before the 5 minute mark. And that means that we're going to have a lot of just a really calm before the storm, so to speak, where
Yeah.
both players are just sitting inside their base, waiting to see, waiting to macro up. And we all know that if a Zerg player has a license to drone, he can easily get up to 70 or 80 drones and then have a 200 food army sometime around the 16-minute mark. We'll see if Bio's his own macro will be able to catch up, especially since he already has his third base and is already training up his second queen, perhaps even a third one when that hatchery does complete.
What you could also do is drone them to about 60 or 65 off these three bases, and then just pump a ton of units. And right as the Terran player decides to take his own third, you sort of crash the front door with roaches, banelings, etc. We saw that in a ZVP several weeks ago. I think Hasu was going for sort of an early three-base play, and his Zerg opponent just crashed the front door. He cut about 15 drones from what you'd usually see a three-base Zerg go for. So yeah, I think, like I said, you know, the easy three base definitely changes the matchups quite a bit.
Yeah, SCV now just wandering around. It looks like the Zerglings are going to be able to chase it down. He is on creep. He will get taken down right there. And now pretty much Bio knows that Murder knows about his third base. And now we are going into Marines and Stim. So Murder maybe just doing a straight two-base play. He is training up Hellions. He is getting up a reactor as well. And we'll see how all of this is going to work out. Second refinery now finally coming in, but we do not see a starport. And with no starport and no tech lab on that factory, it may just be straight up Bio with perhaps Hellions.
Yeah, one important thing to note there is Murder did get good scouting information. He saw when the gas was taken, and he saw that speed hadn't started yet. So speed just starting now, and again, Zergs are sort of experimenting with when they can start speed. So Hellions are going to be out on the field here for quite a while, about 100 more game seconds before speed finally kicks in. And if Murder is able to do a little bit of damage with the Hellions, it could soften up Bio for a timing attack.
Yeah, we'll see what's going to happen. Murder is getting up Stim right now. He is training up a lot of Marines. It looks like the barracks aren't even adding any additional add-ons right now, just trying to train up a lot of Marines, as we also see Murder currently constantly getting supply blocked. He really needs to increase his SCV production or his supply depot production if he wants to be able to run off of this many production buildings. Only building one supply depot at a time, he will need to call in orbital drops. You can see him once again being supply blocked at 62 over 62.
Yeah, a little bit of a bumpy play here from Murder. It's not too bad. Every supply block's maybe 3 to 5 seconds, but that can definitely add up. Again, as we're talking about seconds, metabolic boost about 30 more seconds, the Baneling Nest about 30 seconds as well. And so Bio is definitely going to be able to defend against this with Speedlings and Banelings once it finally pushes out. And here comes Murder, and again, we wonder if he wants those 10 seconds back from the supply blocks.
Yeah, we'll see what's going to happen next. You can see a starport is up, getting up one medevac at a time, unable to add on a reactor. We can see a transition now into the tech lab as a Zergling gets torched. It did see some Hellions, but I don't know if he saw all those Marines. As a Zergling now going to move out to scout. The Zergling's going to see that the third base has not been established, and then we're going to see perhaps a bunkering in on the Zerg side as Banelings are now being produced.
Yeah, and about 15 drones just came out for Bio a few seconds ago, so he's at 64 to 46, so we'll wonder if he's going to be able to defend against this. He does have some Banelings, but creep has not been spread, so Murder's going to take on these Spine Crawlers. They are pretty hardy here with that armor, and the Baneling's going to do their best to try to take down the Marines, but good focus fire taking one down there, another focus fire, and no damage done by those Banelings, but still the Spine Crawlers are standing tall against these Marines and these Hellions. With no medevac here, the Marines stimming down to very, very low HP. We'll see how much damage they're able to do.
Hellions now trying to engage, and the Zerglings getting torched right there. The Zerglings are not lining up well, but they're simply just maybe too many in number as the Marines and the Hellions are trying to fight back. More Marines are coming back in. It looks like the Marines are trying to focus down, able to take off another Queen. No needs to jump inside the medevac if Murder wants to keep these Marines alive. Able to do exactly that. And a late round of Zerglings just enough. I think Murder could have gotten, yes, he is going to get the Queen there, a free give me Queen, nice, but Zerglings now rushing across the center of the map. But now Murder does have siege tanks, getting siege tech and getting up his third command center.
Yeah, this is tough for Murder. He's at that bottom of that ramp. Bio could get a decent surround. He doesn't have enough Zerglings to really take down that force at this point. He doesn't have any more streaming out. Instead, he is going to be macroing up more drones on the way. He's going to be up to 71 in a moment. And let's check the damage Murder was able to do. He only took down 5 drones and a Queen and a few Spine Crawlers, and those are all really throwaway units for a Zerg at this point. Sure, it's going to take him maybe a minute or two to get all those back, but you really have to do big damage, take down an important tech structure or even a hatchery to really slow down a Zerg at this point in the game.
Yeah, we'll see what's going to happen next. The Marines do have combat shield. They do have stim, but we already see 8 mutalisks now adding onto the field. There are no missile turrets in the bases, so harassment is going to be a definite issue. Level 1 weapons upgrade have been started, but it will not complete in time, as we already see 2-1 upgrades. 1-1 upgrades will be finished shortly, and 2-1 for the Zerglings. The Zerglings are going to be able to deal a lot of damage, especially as the siege tanks do not yet have level 1 weapons upgrade, meaning that Zerglings will take 2 shots in order to be destroyed.
And smart move there by Murder. He pushed out to the center. He cleared it off. He forced a lot of units out from Bio, and he's coming out 24 Zerglings now. And then he just pulls back, and he's going to try to defend as he lands this third. He doesn't have any wall here. No supply depots in front of those tanks. So already some upgrades coming out for Bio. He's about to hit 1-1, and 2-1 is on the way. And he could hit with just a big, massive Lings, and he might be able to take down this this force defending the third for Murder. So it's pretty dicey for Murder at this point, I think.
Yeah, the only thing Murder has going for him is the fact that he does have a 4th orbital command. I didn't even see it until now. Huh. And with 4 orbital commands and missile turrets now coming up, the Mutalisk may not be able to deal that much damage. In comes the Mutalisk flying straight into the missile turret. A second missile turret was already established on the north side, and now more missile turrets most likely will be going down as he does see those Mutalisks. And with more Mutalisks being added, this is going to be a game of who can reach critical mass first. Perhaps armor on those missile turrets would help a lot, as the missile turrets normally do not have any armor, and then adding 2 additional armor really reduces the amount of damage that the Mutalisks deal over 20%, as we now see another large force moving out from Murder. That is a lot of Marines, and we'll see how much damage can be done.
Yeah, Banelings do have a speed, but creep has not really been spread. So if Murder's able to get a decent spread on these tanks and do a nice job splitting the Marines, looks like a big stim coming in here. He's going to try to take down some Banelings before Bio has time to really react there, and he was able to take down a few, but a huge stim on all those Marines, not really worth it for the amount of HP that they're going to lose.
Yeah, also Murder doesn't have that many medevacs. With only 2 medevacs and this many Marines, he really has to be careful with his stim. He cannot let all those Marines use those drugs that freely. They are just going to start hurting themselves even more and more. Harvester count is 63 versus 71 as the Zerglings are now swarming inside. The Banelings finding their target. The Marines are trying to split, but I think Bio definitely got the surprise jump, and Murder is in trouble as he is now down by 43 food.
Yeah, 2-1 had just hit, so Bio chose that time to go break down that soft contain, which Murder had really tried to set up there, and that's really good. As he does establish his 4th, it would be very tough to transfer units as a Zerg player from that 4th to the 3rd to defend. Just the way rally points work, it can be pretty tough when you do have that contain. So Bio did a real nice job there.
We'll see what's going to happen. Bio does have his 4th base up, but a medevac looks like it wants to do a drop. Marines are being trained 10, 11 at a time. Home field advantage, so the Marines don't have to walk nearly as far. Even with the Zerglings, even though they have metabolic boost. Here we go, the Marines and the Mutalisks trying to battle it out, and the Banelings just going to crash into this group here. The Marines are all back. A lot of the Banelings finally find their target, as Bio currently with 14 Mutalisks able to deal a lot of damage. The missile turrets are all that's really left, as the Banelings also run into the natural expansion, and all you see is a bunch of broken SCVs.
Yeah, no wall off there, and just easy surround and micro by Bio, and now it's 146 to 80. I think Murder is out of this one, as we've got about 40 Zerglings in queue, and then more in the center of the map. So he's going to clean up this outside 3rd base. Murder has had the habit in the past Wednesday Night StarCrafts of maybe sticking around a few minutes longer than he really should. So we'll see how long he stays here, but I think this game is definitely over.
Yeah, Bio just timed that attack so well. That initial engagement with that 2-1 upgrades completing. The Mutalisks are now going to be 2-0 in just a moment. Murder did have a very, very strong Marine count, but the Banelings and the lack of siege tanks not being able to focus down onto those Banelings, and it's really this yin-yang where you need the Marines to cover the tanks and you need the tanks to cover the Marines. And if you are not paying attention for just a moment, everything can unravel. StarCraft 2, really a game of seconds.
Yeah, in all those engagements, he really only had 2 tanks. In that contain, he only had, I think, 2 tanks, maybe 1 or 2 more that I didn't see. And in that defense, he only had 2 tanks. And if you've got upgraded Zerglings and you don't have upgrades on the tanks yet, I didn't check those. Just 2 is not going to do it, especially if you don't have a wall off. If those Zerglings are able to get a great surround, if those Banelings can just freely try to find those Marines, all the micro in the world isn't going to help Marines if you've only got just 2 tanks protecting them.